I suppose we also do a brief introduction so that you can't see us. We're here in Stockholm.
In
Burns, second gig of the 2019 tour.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Very
If you're not looking at our faces, I am Joe Morose, here with Mercury, host of the show.
Hello.
And international cabaret superstar Jolie Papillon.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Ça va?
We're going to do this in
I
two
should say,
languages.
buonasera.
I was going to say, I thought you were Italian.
I am. I like to confuse people.
Nice. So, this is, once again, we're in an absolutely gorgeous venue. That is the most beautiful thing in the world. You've been all over the world doing the burlesque. You get to work in loads of gorgeous venues. It's always nice.
But this one is incredible, I have to say. This is one of a kind.
Yeah, it's special, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like to make jokes and pretend it looks like my bedroom, but...
I've seen your bedroom.
With 3 chandeliers only, of course.
Yeah. I only have 2. But yeah, no, you've gone all over the world. How long have you been doing burlesque?
I've been doing burlesque for the past 8, coming to 9th year now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But
Maybe not so long, maybe compared to other burlesque artists, I guess, but it's been a very amazing journey.
Did you? I suppose burlesque is your life now. But I suppose before you went into burlesque, before you found yourself in burlesque, however that happened, did you trained in dancing?
Yes. So I danced since I was a kid, and I went to doing ballet, all of the Royal Academy, exams to become a, maybe ballet teacher one day or ballet dancer, and then moved on to musical theatre, jazz, which was my love. Jazz dancing was my absolute love. And then, musical theatre. And then I came to London after I graduated, and that's how I found out about the world of burlesque, really, which changed my life because this is what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah. How did you did you stumble across it? Did you see a show? Did you just find out that...
I would say I stumbled across it because come to London, the only thing I knew of was a little cameo that there is in the musical Gypsy of the three strippers. You gotta give me a act, which is absolutely brilliant.
Amazing.
So that was what I knew about burlesque was, and then I came to London and there was some auditions I was trying to do auditions for dance jobs and singing jobs, and then I found this burlesque and I thought, I'm not quite sure what that means, let me just have a little research. And I was like, okay, there was a lot of misunderstanding of what burlesque was, so I thought, maybe it's just a cabaret styled way of dancing, like what you see, like a mix between Moulin Rouge and some cabaret. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, well, they're looking for trained dancers, so I'm gonna give it a go. So I did so, and I joined this brilliant troupe. It's called, I say brilliant because the name was brilliant. It was called the Love Muffins.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Infamous troupe, the
Right.
Love Muffins.
And that's where I met. It was a lot of dancers, and basically the girl who created the troupe wanted to kind of find us some gigs to do, here and there. So I just thought, I'll just do it for fun, isn't it? So we did one rehearsal, and then the second rehearsal, our boss lady invited a promoter who needed two dancers for a club night, and that's where I met one of my best friends now, so she's become, and colleague, Bouncy Hunter.
Yeah.
You want to say, and it was so much fun. It was me and her doing this odd gig in a club, dancing on, doing like a burlesque, but it was I guess a burlesque style, but it wasn't like what you'd see now as a burlesque act.
Yeah.
But it was great fun, and since then I got to meet other people, and they've asked me to create an act. And that's how this has all took shape.
I think that's...
when was when was Jolie Papillon born? As in Jolie Papillon, the fabulous diva that we get to enjoy on stage.
Well, it was 2010 when I was asked to join a show at Madame Jojo's in London, historical Madame Jojo's that we don't have anymore,
sadly.
Very sadly. But so I joined that New Year's Eve show. and that's where I met my very good friend and co-producer of the Gin House Burlesque, Betsy Rose.
Yep.
And that's where we all started, basically. Started there and then developed my own act. I was like, okay, I need to find a name. Since my first act was a butterfly, I was like, okay, why not link it all
Go with
together?
that, yeah.
And
Amazing.
that's how my name was born. Did a lot of research, and I was like, okay, I don't want to find a name that loads of people have, because I understand, we need to be very unique, and so I, obviously Butterfly, there is other very established performers called Butterfly, and so I thought, okay, maybe Farfalla, which is the Italian for butterfly, is not really easy to read or to say.
I mean, it's that nightmare for a compere. They're always my favourite ones. We go, I'm sorry, can you just tell me how to say this, please? Because I can't say it.
Exactly.
And I'm, relatively ignorant. So
Exactly.
Or, spell it phonetically for me.
Yeah, and then I thought, actually, the French version is very sweet, and it just, maybe it suits my personality. So
It does.
Well, that is a question that I was going to ask off the back of that, which is, so you've got Jolie Papillon.
Yes.
It's a brand. It's also a character. It's also your stage persona. Is there a difference, do you think, between is Jolie a character, or is it an extension of you? Like, how do you see it?
Yeah, so I don't think that is a character that I put on a stage. This would be probably the extreme diva, glamour representative, glambassador, if you want to,
That's a very good
of myself. That's, that's definitely an extension of my personality.
Yeah.
And I feel that since a child, I've always been so fascinated by the glitz and the glamour and the icons of, the TVs and beautiful showgirls and the makeup. I remember spending hours in the afternoon just trying to replicate on the makeup that I saw in the magazines, and and I think that it's something that I always was really attracted to, like this iconic femininity goddess, and so I guess
Jolie Papillon was always there, really.
Just waiting to get out.
She needed an occasion, an opportunity to come out. Yeah.
That's what
JoJo's.
Mercury said the same thing about. I suppose that's the thing, I find it interesting when people talk about is it a character or is it an extension of yourself? Because I always think with me, I go it's me up to 11. I turn the dial up to 11 and go, how far can I go with that? It's not really a
It's not a face.
It's not a face. It's not a character. There are no rules that I've set for myself for the character or anything, but it is just it's a kind of a way of put the sparkles on, put the makeup on, and kind of have a little bit of a release. And I think you've said a similar sort of thing.
I think for me as well, it's also an opportunity to live my wildest dreams. Anything that I want to be or achieve, Mercury can do. There's no limits on Mercury, and that's quite fun. I can be any character. I can wear anything I want to. So it's kind of here's a colouring book. Use any pencils you want and colour outside the lines.
And that for an actor, an artist, a performer, whatever we want to call ourselves, is so empowering and liberating, because, like you say, you can imagine anything to be, and Mercury can do that. Jolie can do that. Maybe myself as non-Jolie will be able to be like, I'm not sure. But Jolie can definitely do that somehow. We'll find a way.
Kind of release. Again, when you say with the glitz and the glamour and all those sort of things, I always find that really interesting. There is something about putting, even if it's just the makeup or it's just the costume or you put some of the sparkles on, there is a release in that. There is you've got to kind of give yourself permission to go crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's quite an interesting kind of concept. And I think you said then as well, obviously you had the theatre training background, but I think that's really interesting as well, that when we're doing this job, which we've talked about before, you are the dancer, but you're the showgirl, you're the actor, you're the performer, you're the choreographer, you're the director. You have all of those different roles within yourself. So even if you go into this from a dancing end or from my point of view, from a purely acting end, you find yourself doing all of those different jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's a 24 hours job, like in a day.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I find myself days where I'm like rhinestoning until, I go to bed, or plan that email so then it can be sent first thing in the morning, and it's a constant, because we, like you say, we do so many things, and we often are producers of our own shows. We're not just being booked to do our own act. We often produce our own shows, which is amazing, I think. But that, means that there's even more work to do.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely rewarding. But it's many people's job, and then somehow we manage to do it all by ourselves, isn't it?
I think that's really nice about I think the other thing, as you say, you eventually when you start doing things in, I mean, any kind of performance industry, any kind of artistic industry, but with this, you do find, I've never have thought about producing my own shows, and we've all three of us have done that sort of thing, and you kind of learn to do it while you're doing it and go, oh, maybe next time I won't do that because that was a mistake. Or you go, oh, brilliant, I learned that just by doing it.
It's a trial and error thing all the time, because nobody can teach you those kind of things. I mean, obviously there are courses in schools, but we just find ourselves, okay, I want to do a show, I'm going to find a way to do it because I've driven and I've got the passion to do it. And then, like you say, you find, oh, actually, that didn't quite work.
I'll do it differently next time.
Yeah. But that's how, actually, Gin House Burlesque was, kind of born. I guess many other shows, they develop, by trying a way, you find a concept, you find something that you're really passionate about, then you develop it, and then you solidify the more you go on. And I'm sure parts like Gatsby is become so much bigger and better, as we went on. Yeah.
Because it starts with that idea, and then you just see what you could do with it.
And everyone that you meet along that journey will in some way influence the next step it takes.
Yes.
I'm sure Gin House has gone from an idea that you all had into the hugely successful night that it is now, and has just grown and got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. If you told me, 4 years ago this would have happened, I wouldn't have believed you. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do, as an artist, and again, even though you don't know, you don't have the tools technically, you don't have the knowledge, but you find a way.
I think when you say, so what's interesting is when you say with the obviously you said the passion, the icons, all of those things that you loved when you were growing up. I suppose that's the same thing, with Gin House or any of those sort of things. You go, but we love that era, we love that style, so we can take that idea and run with it and do that. Is that the same on all of your acts and all of your performances? You look at something that you really that sort of. I was going to say the phrase "fires you fanning" is the phrase that I would use, but basically, do you look at the thing that's gonna gives you an artistic boner, and you go, yeah, great, I want to make something out of that? Is that how you approach it, or do you
in terms of acts? You mean in terms of production as a whole?
Yeah, in terms of acts, I mean, sort of.
Well, in terms of for acts, it's very unique. Every single act has got a different way of emerging, and I say emerging because sometimes it literally can come from nothing. Like you might have been inspired by things you've seen and you're not even conscious of, and then suddenly you're like, oh, actually, I want to do that. And it can be an idea coming from a colour or a flower or a music that you hear, a beautiful tune that you hear. But most of my acts are focused on periods, like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the glamour and the iconic of, those iconic times.
Yeah. Is that something, because you're interested in it anyway, is something that sort of just happens, but also do you research those things? Do you kind of go around?
A lot. I want to make sure that even though sometimes I feel like, oh, that's definitely what I'm focused on, or what my branding or my intentions are, maybe even my background is, I still feel like I need to have so much knowledge about this, so I'm sure that I'm representing the best I can. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm trying to do something that is kind of, but not close enough. Or if I want to take a twist on the theme or on the concept, I want to be able to know as much as I can, so I'm free to be able to do that twist. For example, use a modern track on a vintage look, for example. But I want to do it with a reason, as opposed to or just because I like that look and just because I like that track, and I put it together.
Make it grow organically.
And I don't think it would work for me. I feel like it wouldn't be strong enough because there isn't substance behind it. If that makes sense.
No, totally. And I think that you have to always try and connect to the thing that you're doing. Even on the very base level, you've got to connect to that, because then that will also drive it.
Yeah, it's totally artistic freedom, having, being able to have a knowledge behind what you do. I feel like, my background is fine arts, for example. So I remember like studying Raffaello and Picasso and all of these Michelangelo and all these amazing artists, and then realizing, for example, I was so impressed by the work of Picasso, and it was very weird because at the same time I really love the super classic, Italian kind of style.
It's really very super realistic.
And I was like, but why? This is so contrasting. Yeah. And then I realized, studying Picasso is that because he's coming from the absolute knowledge and skills of having learned to draw like a Raffaello.
Yeah.
So because he knew that, then he was like, I got it. I got my basis. Now I'm free to do whatever I like because I've got, some structure behind.
Yeah, structure. Well, I think it's that thing where you do. I was really impressed with my little brief knowledge of Picasso. I went to the Picasso Museum in Spain years ago and saw really, really early painting. There was like I think it's a boy and a horse and a boy and a dog, and it's super hyper real. And I suppose it's the idea of putting, similar to this, you kind of you learn the rule book. Because then you can break the rules. You've got to know it first.
Totally, yeah, I agree. I really like that methodology. You say, or methodology?
Yeah, I think one of the things, like sometimes when you, for me, when I go and see other cabaret performers work, I absolutely love it when I can see the basic. I really love like clowning and those sort of things. So when I see somebody who is, I don't know, a juggler or whatever, who has got that real tight basic clowning skill, that stagecraft that's just there and ready, so then even though there's all chaos around it, that that you're in real safe hands, I think.
Well, I think that's key, because obviously we've been talking very much about artists and the kind of design and the iconic 40s and era of glitz and glam. However, we are still performers, and you still want to see that kind of essence of performance on stage.
Yes.
Like, what is your opinion on the importance of training? Are you still going to dance classes? And
well, not as much as I would love to, unfortunately, because we were saying, like, we do so much, behind the scenes.
The rest of the time you rhyme so you can't get to dance class.
Right? Or like emails or admin, that's involved with our work. But
you're in the studio a lot.
But I do, and even so in order to create an act, I go to the studio a lot to create, and sometimes if I feel stuck, I either go to a class, which I think it might be helpful, or I'm not ashamed of asking for help. Like I've got loads of dancers friends, choreographers, and I'm not afraid at all to hire them to be like, can you watch me, or can we have a chat about this, because I feel like I need more and I'm not sure representing what I want to represent in the proper way. So that's what I do, but I love to still try to keep myself fit, because my performances are quite energetic, as you guys know.
I mean, your can-can dance especially.
Yeah.
Was that 6.5 minutes of high kicks?
High kicks in a corset, in heels, which are not designed for dancing in the slightest. But yeah, that for me was a huge challenge, for example. I was like, okay, if I'm doing a can-can, I don't want to do halfway can-can. It has to be, because otherwise, again, I feel like a fraud, and I don't want to.
And it's also, I think it's the thing, part of the love, and obviously, I think we all come from a love of that, whether it's a love of the vintage stuff, or whether it's a love of the training, or whether it's a love of the history of it, because I'm obsessed with the history of it. I love it. It's like going to venues like this and you go, oh my God, you can feel the people have been before. But I think also there's that element of respect, and I think that's the thing of going, well, I don't want to just dip my toe in, because actually has a whole history of its own.
Exactly.
And, it's the sort of thing, I think, where you could put on the costume or a costume, but actually you're not really taking the art form that was. It's not an homage in the right kind of way.
Precisely, yeah.
I think that's really interesting as well. One of the things you were saying earlier on, when we were just having a chat before we
yeah.
I think it's interesting when you're saying about the asking for, you're not afraid to ask for help and, you know, getting feedback and stuff. But also one of the things that we were saying is these things develop live in front of the audience.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, you've got to listen to the audience all the time. And I know you're big on that. You love that.
Yeah, I love that interaction. And I feel like, you know, once you've got your hours in the studio, you feel like your act is solid, then you've got that freedom to be like, okay, I'm going to take this on stage and be ready to scrap my choreo in order to make sure that I can connect to the audience.
Yeah.
Because I believe that in cabaret, maybe in musical theatre, maybe in a play, it's different. But if I don't have that connection, and it's quite intimate connection, you know, quite often with some members of the audience, then my job is not done.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a team game, you know. It's I have to, like, they fuel my performance and vice versa. So again, to have that freedom of like, okay, I'm totally in control of what I do, but now it's time to just let it go and take that Picasso freedom, to be like, okay,
the rules are already set, so let's throw them out the window.
I'm not gonna jump in the splits here because I really want to go and shake my skirt on somebody's head.
Yeah. I think that's one of the lovely things, and particularly obviously this was watching, obviously this is the second one of these, but watching you when we were doing the last show, and obviously I've seen you, we work at a place like Splendor, which in London, which is, you know, tiny
20 people and you next to them.
Yeah, and you're right there.
Very intimate experience.
Yeah, but I love the fact that actually, and I know that you, because I've worked with you so often in different rooms, you can still have that, and it's the dream really, you can still have that one-on-one connection, that really personal connection, even in a room that's massive. You know, even when you would sort of think that in a huge room where there's thousands of people, you might not be able to get that connection because there's so many people. But that's one of the things that I absolutely love, because actually, you know, you could still get that moment of intimacy in the same way that you can in a room of 10 people.
Yeah, and small places like Splendor, for example, are such a great training for us because, you know, like you said, people are so close to you. Yeah, that's the moment when you're like, it doesn't matter what you planned in your routine. There's no space to perform it. So you really have to find something so interesting for people to, you know, to draw the attention to you.
Yeah.
You know, you really need to have that one-to-one relationship.
The last time that we, when you were interviewing me, we were saying that whereas theatre, musical theatre might happen up on stage, cabaret happens in like a weird sort of space in the air in between the audience and the performer. So I think it is that finding and stepping into that space in midair in whatever venue you're in, and even for 2,000 people like at Gatsby, you're still there, and they're still somewhat responsible for how your act.
Yeah, and I love that. That's one of the things that you do when you compare huge rooms like this, is actually lay that out at the beginning. You've got to say to people, yeah, well, we're here, we're going to do the thing, but it's not even like we want you to share it with us. The point is you're going, no, it's actually part of your responsibility as well. Like, if you don't put the effort in to be a magnificent audience, then we can only give you so much. And actually I love that when people buy into that. Because as you said, that's where the magic is. That's where the sort of you know, the bit where no one quite knows what's going on, but you go, no, don't worry, I've got this, it's fine.
I think it's the anything can happen is what people love about cabaret, and burlesque especially. Like, the amount of times I've worked with incredible burlesque artists and it's live, so things can go wrong.
Absolutely.
But when something goes wrong, the audience, if you've worked with them correctly, the audience are there with you and they love it.
Yes.
And they go, it's live, it's live, it's happening right in front of you. And I love that. One of the things that you said as well last time we were having a chat was about the fact that you're in we so often these days, even though we're doing such a vintage thing, so often these days everyone's, you know, stuck on a tablet, stuck on a phone, stuck on in a screen. And in this kind of experience you're going, no, live it now. I think so I'm gonna flip it on its head, because we talked about all of the love for it and all of those things and all of the inspiration. It's all very cool. Not to put you on the spot, but is there a thing about when you work doing burlesque all the time, it is your full-time job, your full-time career, is there a thing that you don't like about it? Is there whether it's a logistic thing or whether it's a performance thing, there's anything that really bugs you? Like, having to drag a suitcase around?
Well, that is one of the main things, and having to pay a masseurs every other week because my arms and my back is in pieces because of dragging a suitcase. That's one of the main things for sure. But I guess also like sometimes circumstances backstage or not having decent backstage.
Yeah.
But it's nothing to moan about. We just always make the most of it. We just make it work every time. But
and that's I think something I love is there have been several shows I think that we've done together where, obviously not in these beautiful venues that we're working in with Gatsby, but at some other private events especially, where you get given a toilet between 8 of you.
I mean, we used to do that every week.
well, that's the thing. I'm like, luckily it's not the situation anymore. Like we don't get offered toilets and we don't get offered, and we make it work even if we got small space because we are divas on stage. We're not divas backstage. I like to believe, and that's where you leave it because we have to work together at the end of the day. But it's annoying is actually when the private client says to you, "Oh, but I've got a beautiful disabled toilet."
Yeah,
and you're like,
"Well, it's still a toilet."
I'm actually quite fine to go and get changed with the staff members, the lady staff changing room.
Yeah, I'll go by the back of the kitchen.
I don't mind that.
Where the bags
so I'm like, isn't it a bit weird that I come out with a $5,000 costume out of a disabled toilet?
Yeah,
just for your guests, really. Not for myself only.
I remember I was doing a gig over a few years ago over in Ireland, and we turned up this venue, and it was one of those ones where you look at the whole venue, go, oh, this is gorgeous, this is really, really nice, but they just hadn't really thought about that, and there was literally a row of cubicles, and there were four of us, and we had one cubicle
oh
each,
gosh,
and we all just had a suitcase on the toilets, and they were like, oh, but also the customers need to use these, and we were like, well, that's fine, but you'll just have to give us a little bit of time. So there was just all of us just talking to each other, just shouting each other over the top of these things.
However, what I love about it is that even in those situations, those 4 cubicles will open and 4 goddesses will step out and give that audience.
And nobody will know. Nobody will ever know. You come out of a toilet.
What's inside that tiny little cubicle?
If you ever do the one where I think particularly I find sometimes in London, if it's the one you do maybe you're running between 2 gigs and you just need to have a little touch up. So then you're on the tube and then suddenly you go, oh, I just better touch that up a bit, and then you've got your makeup out on the tube and you've got a suitcase there and you're going, I'm running a little bit late now. I don't know what to do, and everyone on the tube. You just sort of look at you and go, well, I know you look fabulous, but you're doing something incredibly functional there.
I know, we're very lucky in London because we're able to do, more gigs in a night if we want to. That's not the
situation everywhere, is it?
No, it's not, but it's funny because often you drive, not you drive, but like you travel in the tube and then you get some drunken people asking you, why are you bringing hoops? Or why have you got like this weird shaped case? And then you got to explain and like, oh, is this person gonna leave now?
I'm an international burlesque superstar.
I've got to be really glam in about
using
5
a tube
minutes.
because it's functional, obviously. It's because the best way to get from gig to gig.
Limousine is just not practical in London.
No,
not with the traffic.
Not with the traffic.
I think that's a really interesting thing. That for me, when I've been doing a little bit less than you, a little bit less time than you, but one of the things that I found certainly in London, and then it's sort of opened up even more, is the amount of places that once you get into it and once you know that the shows are happening, and actually there are so many more than you think there are, and I absolutely love that. And I know some people, like I've got some American burlesque friends who there's not quite the scene, or there's certainly not quite the industry that we've got, particularly maybe in London, but I love that. I also love the idea that sometimes you turn up to gigs and you meet the new people, or you've got the people that are, like we've worked together for years, and we happen to be on this one, and then actually there's some performers on this one that I've met for the first time, and I love that because you just go, oh, what are you gonna bring to the table? I love that.
I just love also when people, performers turn up to gigs unexpectedly, like you say, you turn up at cellar door and I'm there coming out of a kitchen because that's where I'm getting changed. And I'm like, oh, hi, Joe.
I was there the other week because also we'd just been doing a gig round the corner and we just sort of seen each other in the dressing room around the corner, and then I popped in for a little drink with a friend, and then suddenly you've done your showbiz thing, you're going, I don't know who I'm going to see right now, and then you suddenly go, oh, hello, I'll just do this for you now, it's
and
fine.
how supportive everybody is.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm tired of them. Like, I've seen that act so many times, but I want to see what you do in here, today, tonight, with a different mood, different costume, same costume, but different audience.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's amazing of our, industry as well.
I think that's
like
a really
the
beautiful
support.
thing, actually. I think that comes down to the fact as well that, as you said before, we're all individuals, and you try to find your name that represents you, and you're creating your acts that represents what inspires you, and thus you do have this kind of support for each other, because if we're all doing our thing rather than trying to do other things, like, it is exciting to see each other.
It really is. Like, we're friends. Like, we are honestly, genuinely friends on stage, and exactly.
And I think that's lovely. I think it's also the thing that you're going, we're all working towards that common goal. We're doing the thing where we're just making the whole thing together.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you're only ever as good as the act that's on before you or the act that's on after you. And
we're all part of a show together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even if you haven't even rehearsed it, and you kind of go, right, well, let's just do this, and this is the vibe. I love that.
Anyway, I think we've got to go and entertain 2,000 people soon. I need to go and paint on some cheekbones. And you've got £5,000 worth of costume to climb into.
Exactly, so I better get started.
I have to I don't know, play a piano or something.
He says just casually.
Just casual.
Thank you guys for the chat.
Yeah, it was nice that. It was nice. We should do this more often.
I know.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
I know.
And looking forward to seeing you performing at Burns in Stockholm.
Yeah, and
on
you
the
guys.
other side of that door.
Just there.
In about an hour.
Just there.
About an hour.
Have a good show, guys.
Yes, you too.
Break a lash.
Well, very good, very good.